Our next storyteller would be incomparable, magnificent,
You want to tell?
the one and only Nora
I'm
Dooley.
going to give these out to people who are listening.
Yes.
Yeah. Nora Dooley, question mark?
Nora Dooley.
Question mark.
Yes.
Hey.
Okay, so I don't know about raindrops on roses, but into every life a little rain must fall, and that's how I'm going to connect it. And I have a couple of stories here that are connecting in my mind to the recent contretemps, the recent situation, the recent happenings with Professor Gates and Cambridge Finest. So yes, I'm going to step right out there and put my foot in my mouth and tell my stories and connections to this story that has been dominating everything except the electrician over there. P.S. My husband is the electrician for those guys, so I don't know who this guy is on the ladder. It's not my husband. That's all I want to say. Because my husband will never interrupt me when I'm telling a story like this. Because he will be sleeping on the couch, never mind eating ramen. Anyway. Yeah, Hare Krishna. So what I want to say is that I have connections, and I don't mean to say in any way that I understand what it means to be a person who grew up from 1950 until the day that Professor Gates was arrested as a black man in this country. I am not saying that I understand that. I'm only saying that I have a connection to that because I was also once arrested, and I was arrested for, I believe, talking back to a policeman. Because it's just not a good idea, as I learned later. But when I was young, I was working with the United Farm Workers. It was one of the first political things that I ever did in my life. And I was working with the United Farm Workers, and our goal was to sell only union, now you have only organic things, but we used to try and sell only union grapes, meaning that the people who picked the food that we were going to eat were going to get a decent wage. They were not going to be poisoned by the pesticides that were blown on them. They were going to live in something other than shacks or their trucks, et cetera, et cetera. This was our goal. So we went to A&P offices. I don't think A&P exists anymore, but they had a downtown office, and we wanted to talk to the CEO there, and that person didn't want to see us, so we said, cool. We're just going to sit in your office until you talk to us, because there were 50 of us actually there to talk to. And they called the police, and at that time I realized that, you know, I really couldn't get arrested because, well, my father was at sea and my mother was even more at sea, and if I were arrested and I was the only person at home who could really like hold things together, it wouldn't be good. So when they said, okay, we are now, you know, unless you disperse, you'll be trespassing, we're going to arrest you. I said, cool, I got to go, guys. Sorry, I mean, I just can't get arrested. So I went downstairs, and there was a whole phalanx of Boston's finest with paddy wagons waiting. And I started walking up and down the street, and a policeman came over and said, what do you think you're doing? And I said, well, it's my constitutional right to have a moving picket line as long as and he said, shut the bleep up, and just dragged me and boom, pushed me right into the paddy wagon. And as I sat there chatting up the policeman in the front, the racist nonsense that came out of their mouths about me with my Irish name, sitting in with a bunch of people from Mexico who are farm workers, just was infuriating. But what could I do? I mean, I was just dragged off, sent to jail, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so I understand this idea of arguing with a policeman gets you arrested. So that's one connection I have to Professor Gates. But another connection I have is that I also kind of shoot my mouth off. And I'm not saying that I know that Professor Gates did that, but I'm just saying that if I had come home to my home after a really long, I think it's a long trip from China still, even if it's on a plane, a really long plane ride, and my house had been broken into recently and I couldn't get the door open, and I finally get the door open, and then a policeman comes in and asks me for my identification in my house, well, I wouldn't be happy, but I would give it to him. But then, after giving him that identification, if the policeman then says, that's fine, I'm just going to call Harvard police too, I think then I would be angry, I think is what I would be. Because I'm standing in my own house. It's my house. Okay, and I don't care what anybody said I was doing or thought I was doing. You're investigating. Here I am with my bags, with my tickets, with my key, and my ID, and you're calling more police? Okay, so I would be mad. And if it were me, when I get mad, I do really silly things. So here's my connection with Professor Gates. So my sister and I are going out for lunch in Harvard Square. And it's a long time ago because I used to live down by Symphony Hall, which was not a very nice place to live, even though very Tony things happen around, Symphony Hall. In fact, as a young woman, it was a really hard place to live. And I'm not saying that being a middle-class white woman is exactly the same as being a black man in the United States from 1950 to 2009. I'm only saying that in this country, you can still get killed for being the wrong color at the wrong time in the wrong place. And in this country, right now, probably someone is being killed for being a woman in the wrong place at the wrong time, doing the wrong thing. So I'm just saying that I used to walk around, and I worked nights too, so I was often sleep deprived, probably just like Professor Gates. And I would walk around from my house to my art professor's house to other people's houses because I didn't have a car. And these guys used to float all around Westland Avenue and up and down Mass Avenue. Going out, ladies? Going out? You going out? You going out? Well, this is how you, maybe some of you don't know this, but this is how you solicit a prostitute. See? So I kind of got to understand that that's what was happening. And it would really piss me off because I would tell them no, and I would tell them all kinds of things, but they would be really obnoxious and just, it's enough already. When you live in a place where my sister's best friend had been raped, in that neighborhood where someone climbed in through a roof, into her window, into her bed while she was sleeping. I mean, so there's this fear thing, and you know that your life is on the line as you're walking around, and people are like, are you going out, ladies? Are you going out, ladies? Are you going out, ladies? It's like, urgh. It's just, and you can't really say anything right at that moment at 2 o'clock in the morning because you are just going home and there's no one else around and da-da-da. So my sister and I are going out for lunch in Harvard Square. And we stop on Mass Ave to look at this car, and we're kind of looking at it because it had something interesting on the bumper sticker. And these two guys come up in a car and they slow down and they say, "Going out, ladies?" And I just lost it. I totally lost it. I just hauled off and gave it to them. What do you mean, are we going out? My sister and I are trying to have lunch. I said everything to them. I did not hold back at all. I let them have it. I questioned their parentage, their brains, their manhood, everything. And my sister kept on saying, "Nora, Nora, Nora." And the guys just drove off. I said, "Nora, Nora, Nora." I said, "What? You don't understand what they're saying. When they ask if you're going out, you just don't." "No, Nora, I think," so we sat down to eat. "Nora, I'm trying to tell you." I said, "Look, I'm trying to tell you. You don't understand. Listen, where I live, when someone says, if you're going out, ladies, this is what it means." But she said, "Nora, Nora, Nora, I think they meant the parking space." I said, "What are you talking about, the parking space? What do you mean the parking space? What are you talking?" They wanted to know if that was our car and if we were leaving, and they wanted the parking space. The parking space. You think the guys were saying, like, "Are you gonna move this car?" And then she said, "Yeah, Nora, yeah." Well, I was pretty embarrassed. It took me a long time, actually, to shut up because it's a younger sister and I just had to let her know about what was going on in the world. But when I finally calmed down, I felt like such an idiot. But fate is really funny, and I have a lot of serendipity in my life. I like to think of my life as sort of like a serendipity parfait. I have like these big sections of absolute crap, and then I have these beautiful little sections of serendipity. Well, anyway, we finished eating our lunch, and we walked out, and who did you think we saw walking down the street but those same two guys? And filled with regret and honest remorse, I started walking very quickly towards them, and they started backing off like, "Oh, she's coming after after us. I said, no, no, no. I just want to say, I'm so sorry. I think you just wanted the parking spaces. And I said, and you see, like where I live, when you say you're going out, ladies, it just kind of means like, you know, and I was just like, I had it up to, I'm really sorry. So I got that chance to say I was sorry. And I hope that Professor Gates gets the same chance to say if he has anything to be sorry for, and I don't know that. And I hope that any issue that needs to be addressed is equally addressed as it should be. But unfortunately, we need to remember that we do live in a country where at this very moment, someone is going to die because they are a woman in the wrong place at the wrong time. Someone who is a person of color is going to die because they are in the wrong place at the wrong time. And somewhere there's a police officer who may also find their life at risk doing their job. Thank you.